You've been training, well, I know you've been competing in mixed martial arts for 14 years professionally, but how long have you been training? I know you wrestled in college.
Started wrestling in high school. I was always really competitive when I was a kid. And I really wasn't that good at sports, but I was just a competitor. I kind of had a emotionally abusive stepdad, and to like me and my brother and my mom, and it was like the only way to try to like stand out, I guess, or to get acceptance was to do good in sports. And I just wasn't. I was just average, but I tried real hard. And then when I got into high school, by my senior year, I got pretty good at wrestling. But I like even my junior or my sophomore year, I was bulimic. I mean, I was 130, went down to 100 pounds, and I was skin above. Like probably for a year straight, I threw up every single meal I ate. Like maybe not like 2 minutes afterwards, but within a certain amount of time, I didn't go without throwing up for a year after every meal.
Stress? Or
no, just trying to make weight, and then it just snowballed into something else. Because then it was like, well, it's like control. You know, I can control this, and you can't. No matter how, whatever he is, I can control how much I weigh. You can't do anything about that. And so I couldn't even wrestle. So I mean, it was like in your, you know, on paper, it doesn't make any sense. You're cutting all this weight to wrestle because you want to be good at wrestling, and wrestle with a load, and then you're so weak, you're in the hospital that you can't even wrestle, and it does. But you still do it. It doesn't make sense. But that's hard. As I really feel for people who have eating disorders, because it's one of the hardest like to come out. And I don't know how it happened. Maybe just realized that I wasn't ever gonna succeed doing that. So
yeah, because from 100 pounds now, what do you walk around at?
Yeah, I'm about 240.
240. Okay.
So.
It's interesting because you talk about different things that happened from your past emotionally. I know that you got a master's degree in psychology, and you actually practiced psychotherapy, or you were a child counselor, children's counselor. What was your background?
I did. Well, I had a couple jobs. At first I worked at while I was getting my master's, I worked at a group home for kids where they actually lived there. So, and they were like 8 to 17. And then that was my first experience. And after I got my master's, I was working as a, I did family and kid counseling. And then I worked, which I didn't like, because a lot of times it was, the family problems, but it just seemed like parents didn't want to bring in the kids because like, all our kids the problem, but it's actually really just a symptom of the family. But then I was a case manager for mentally ill, like severely mentally ill people, like on the street and that kind of thing. And I loved that job. And then later on, I got a job as a mental health professional where I had a small caseload, but actually went out and did detentions. Like I think in Florida called the Baker's Act. I would be the one doing the Baker's Act and going to court and proving that they needed to be in the hospital, or set up counseling for them, or whatever protocol needed to happen. Or maybe they were just a personality disorder and nothing was wrong with them other than emotional stuff. So, but I loved that job. I loved it.
So, and it was right after that job that you started pursuing the MMA career?
Yeah, I quit that job and thought I was just going to fight professionally and just make a career out of it, because I had fought in the UFC, and I just was hearing all these great things, how I was going to, I just had to concentrate on it full time. And I was working at the time, I was working out with Randy Couture and Team Quest and Matt Lindland and Chael Sonnen. And but it was an hour and 45-minute drive every day, go train and then come back. But the fight that I was supposed to fight, I forgot who, didn't happen. And then I was kind of struggling for a while, and I met the guys from ATT, which at that time it was Silveria Brothers. But they didn't really have a team yet. It was just more of a jiu-jitsu team. And then I was working on this, where Randy worked or trained and stuff. They had at Team Quest, they had a used car lot. And so I started working there instead of coming back. I'd work there at night, for like 4 hours a night. So I was selling used cars in like in a Spanish district.
Used car salesman.
Right, it was the worst job ever.
That's something I didn't know.
Yeah, worst job ever. And then I got a call to the UFC to fight Rico, and ATT took me on, and I guess the rest is history.
And at what point, where do the Abu Dhabis fall into all that? Because I know you're a 2-time Abu Dhabi champion, and that's where you actually got the name Snowman. He was just rolling over everybody, and all the Brazilians at the tournament gave you the nickname Snowman,
right?
Which stuck all these years later. At what point was the Abu Dhabis in all of this?
I'd already won Abu Dhabi, and I'd taken first. I think I'd taken first and second before all this happened. And so I was pretty successful. And ironically, when I came to America Top Team, I came down here for 2 weeks to fight for Rico, to train for Rico. They just like, look, we'll invite you on the team. I told them they knew my situation. They go, look, well, we need an American. You can teach us, teach the Brazilian guys wrestling, and we'll invite you on the team. And they took a lot of flack in Brazil. A lot of flack. Hey, Breezy. For having me on the team, being American, being a gringo, and he's going to take all our secrets, and then he's not going to be loyal, and etc. And they stood by me. I mean, Conan and Marcelo Silveria, Laborio, they took a lot of flack. But they had me on the team and trained for 2 weeks. Went out, fought Rico, got my ass kicked bad, and then went to Abu Dhabi and didn't place for the first time, and then fought Boris Griffin, lost, and then I tore my bicep tendon. I was out for a year, like in the span of 6 months.